Hey guys, welcome back to On the Daily. I'm Jess and this is episode 2. Let's go. This is going to be a good one because we've been waiting for Stranger Things season 5 to drop for 3 years and now it finally has. We're going to get into it. Before we get into anything further, disclaimer, this video includes spoilers, so consider yourself warned. I really enjoyed the first 4 episodes and now I want to get into theories on what's to come. Specifically, who I think is not going to make it. That are going to die, the characters we think are going to get the chance. One character who seems to have got a lot of traction online is Lucas. And the main reason for that is because of the foreshadowing in the Kate Bush lyrics, "Make a deal with God to get him to switch our places." Obviously, we know how much he still cares for Max. That has been hinted at heavily throughout these 4 episodes. We also know that Max is still trapped in a coma in Vecna's mind. So many people are speculating that Lucas is going to make the ultimate sacrifice and make a deal with God or a deal with Vecna to switch him and Max's places, and that is how she will get out of her coma. But it does also mean we lose Lucas. I do actually rate this theory. Where I think it falls down, however, is with Holly's character. Obviously, we've seen that she's also trapped with Max in Vecna's mind. So if Lucas is going to do a swap to save Max, that would render Holly still trapped unless there's some other twist or turn, which I'm sure we can expect. 2 other possible losses, and I do think it is a case of one or the other, is Jonathan or Steve. Now, we are in this love triangle between Nancy, Jonathan and Steve. The 2 are competing against each other for Nancy's attention. If one of them was to die, that would kind of solve that one. Brutal. It's a brutal way to do it, but it would give us a clear-cut answer, one or the other, without Nancy having to actually make a decision. There is speculation online that it's going to be Jonathan who's going to sacrifice himself in order to save his brother Will. However, my money would be more on Steve. This one breaks my heart. I don't want it to happen. It's the one I'm like most sad for, but I feel like we've had so much emotional investment in Steve. And just to take it even further with Steve, he has been really portrayed in a very fatherly light, especially in these recent 4 episodes. There's so much mention of him being always the one looking after the kids, and then he talks to Nancy about his dream one day of having 6 little nuggets that he drives a camper van across the country with. Typically, so far in this series, there is quite a big link with fathers, absent fathers and dying fathers. Obviously, Elle's father is completely absent, not mentioned throughout the series. She then has Papa, who is her main father figure, and it looks like he's dead. We then get Hopper come in and be her father, and he's very absent. He brushes with death a lot, and ultimately he might also die at the end of this. Will and Jonathan's dad is absent, and then when they do get a new father figure in Bob, he sacrifices himself, and that's very emotional. There's just a lot of rhetoric around absent or dead fathers, and I just think that the mentioning of Steve in this fatherly light could be foreshadowing. Oh, and we also have Mike, Holly and Nancy's dad, who is currently at the end of these 4 episodes in hospital, and it does look very likely that he's going to die also. So I did just mention Hopper, and I feel like we are led to believe that he's quite a likely character to get killed off at the end. However, I don't think this is actually going to happen because he's had so many close calls, and there's been a number of times we've been set up for a goodbye with him, and he's had his emotional moment where he's reflected on his daughter Sarah and what he's done wrong in his life. I just feel that the emotional impact of his actually dying has been diminished, so I'm not sure how impactful that would be, and I don't think it's that likely to actually happen. The character we're most expecting to die obviously is Vecna /1 Henry. It does seem inevitable that in order for this all to come to a conclusion, he does need to die. And there is a theory that I quite like that I think backs this up nicely, and that is the D20 theory. Now, this refers to a D20 roll on a Dungeons and Dragons 20-sided dice. You may have noticed that the 3 remaining patients of Dr. Brennan are 11, 8, and 1, and when you add that together you get 20. This might just be a coincidence, however, Will has mentioned several times in these 4 episodes that there is no such thing as coincidences. Interestingly, if you roll a natural D20 in Dungeons and Dragons, this determines the success of your mission. It basically means you're going to win. So we could assume that this 20 number means that there's going to be a success, there's going to be a win, and we assume this to mean the destruction of Vecna, right? This can also be backed up by the fact that if you roll a natural 1 in Dungeons and Dragons, that usually means failure. So this could mean the very fact that 1 is 1, Henry Vecna is 1, he's already destined for failure right from the off. If you want to take it a step further and nerd out even more, in Dungeons and Dragons, if you don't get a natural 20, but you get to 20 by adding modifiers, i.e. additional help, such as Will becoming a sorcerer, for example, you're still going to get a win, but you're going to take 50% damage. Which leads me to my theory that yes, Vecna is going to die, but in order for the team to win, one of the other big hitters is going to have to also die. They're going to have to take 50% damage, which leaves us between Will, 8 and 11. Now, 8 seems like a pretty logical choice. She appeared in series 2 in a couple of episodes, but we're not that attached, so she seems like a pretty easy one to pick off. Obviously, Will and 11 are going to carry way more impact and are going to shock the fans a lot more, so I would be tempted to say that one of them is going to go. And for me, this kind of makes sense because everything all started with Elle. It all started when she opened the gate, and no matter what she has done throughout all of these series, no matter how hard she has tried to rectify her mistakes, it kind of keeps seeming to get worse. The more she tries, the more she hones her powers, the bigger the catastrophe. So it does sort of stand to reason that for all these things to stop happening, Elle sort of needs to stop happening as well. We have now also seen that some material particles darkness of Vecna, of the Upside Down, is now physically within Will, which currently in the narrative is giving the team an upper hand. It's letting them see through Vecna's eyes and know what's coming next. But ultimately, if that still lives in Will, does that mean the danger still lives, still exists, even with Vecna killed off? There's always going to be potential for something to happen again if it's physically living within Will, which begs the question, does Will need to die in order for this all to ultimately end? Whilst I do think a big hitter main character is going to be killed off at the end, there are also some periphery characters that feel like they are likely to get the chop. The first one being Derek, and I feel like this is so sad because we've really been endeared by him, we've really warmed to him, but it seems like a pattern with the Duffer Brothers to drop in these little ancillary characters, give them little hero moments, give them little funny moments, really get us on side, and then just brutally kill them off. So I do think my money's pretty safe on Derek. Dr. K, I think, is another safe bet. She's obviously a baddie. We've had no attachment to her whatsoever, and it seems pretty inevitable that she's going to need to be ousted for the plot to continue. I'm going to go ahead and throw Murray into the mix here as well. I know that we love him and he has been really helpful to the gang, but unfortunately he does lift out quite easily. So obviously we don't know how it's going to go, but I am super excited to find out. I'm also excited to hear your thoughts. If any of these theories have really clicked for you, give this a thumbs up, let me know in the comments below. If you really disagree with any of these and you have theories of your own, let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear them. And if you want some more strange things, I have actually gone and reviewed the new Stranger Things menu at KFC, and I'll be releasing that video shortly, so make sure you subscribe and follow along to find out how that one went. I will be back next Wednesday with another episode of Just Jess on the Daily. I will see you then.